Comrades, friends, all those who are present here today, when Comrade Joseph Stalin and Tarindu Uduvaragedara asked me to speak today on Human Rights Day, I was a little pondering upon what to say, because we are remembering or commemorating this Human Rights Day at a time when our country is in a political crisis. We are headed by a president who is unelected, a government which lost its mandate on July 9th, and a parliament which has voted for a budget which has been described by unions to be one of the most regressive pieces of economic legislation since liberalization. We are also facing with an economic crisis. The numbers tell us everything, in fact. 6.3 million people and growing who are food insecure. Malnutrition is on the rise. Pregnant women are suffering from anemia. Child wasting is increasing. Workers are not eating, people are starving. The export sector is refusing to bring back residual income. They are earning residual income, thereby contributing to the dollar crisis. And the government, which has proposed a budget, has no plans except to tax the working people and privatize our national assets. We are also facing with an environmental crisis. Few days back, smog has covered the skies of Colombo and people are falling sick. So Sri Lanka has become a case study of what exactly is wrong with the global political and economic order. And this is the situation in which we are remembering and celebrating, or not celebrating, but commemorating the Human Rights Day. Human rights lawyers and human rights actors use this term about human rights. Human rights is supposed to be inherent and inalienable. What that means is you can't separate the human from the right. The right is part of the human, like it belongs to us, it can't be taken away from us. That is what the theory books tell us. But what I've learned is human rights cannot exist in a situation, in a political and economic situation where it is not allowed to exist. To put it simply, if a country is going into an economic freefall, if a country is in a state of political crisis, human rights will also go into a state of crisis, and that is what our country's history has taught us. If you look at the last 30 or more, if you look at the post-independence history of our country, the country has been in a political turmoil and an economic turmoil, and we know that thousands of people have died, disappeared. Families of the disappeared are still searching for the missing, and human rights has been in a constant state of crisis. So that is what we should be expecting next year. Human rights is also going to go into a state of crisis because our government has proposed an economic order headed by an unelected president. They have proposed an economic order which is not going to create a conducive environment for human rights to survive. So what should we do? What should we as trade unionists, civil society actors, academics, people who love this country, what should we do? I urge you only one thing. Do not do charity. Do not view this crisis as a means through which we can get out if we do charity. Don't do charity. What you should do, what I call upon you to do, is political activism. Now, as you know, since the Aragale was crushed on July 22nd by military intervention, through military intervention, there has been people gathering in small and large groups discussing alternatives, discussing actual alternatives to the crisis we are facing. These are not just theories, these are practical alternatives which we have been discussing. But they need political momentum and political power if these alternatives have to become reality. So come join these discussions, come join these activities, come join trade unions and civil society spaces and fringe political parties. And if you don't like political parties, that's fine. Just join volunteer spaces and engage in political activism. Because if you don't do that, what the Sri Lankan government is proposing to a social and economic fabric is a deep cut. It's a deep cut going into the artery of a country's way of living. And we won't come out of this if we don't come together to do something. The budget, as you know, if I give a summary of the budget or describe the budget, it's basically an economic warfare on the poor and the working people of this country. That is what the government is doing to come out of this crisis, and we're not going to come out of this crisis if we go this way. People will continue to starve, people will continue to suffer from malnutrition, and we are going to see death and destruction and unrest. And how is the government planning to respond? They're planning to respond through military intervention, and that is why one of the largest allocation we have in the budget is for defense. And we know how that has turned out in the past. So we don't want that to come about. Engage in political activism. Constantly resist and question the government. Because as Arundhati Roy once said, she said, a new world is not only possible, I can hear her breathing on a quiet day. And what I say in Sri Lanka is that you don't need a quiet day to hear her breathing. You can actually hear her breathing. Amidst the clatter and the noise and the mainstream media and political and business elite telling us an alternative is not possible. The only possibility is to tax the poor and enrich the rich. If you actually listen through all that clutter and noise, you can see that an alternative economic order is possible, an alternative politics is possible, an alternative country, political, economic, cultural order which is anti-racist, pro-women, pro-LGBTQI rights, pro-working people. It's possible. We just have to put our heads together, think, organize, and resist this unelected government which is backed up by a business elite which has only looked after its interests for the last 40 years. Thank you.